Having a working mic like this is like very intense. Welcome everyone. I'm so glad to see all of you here tonight. Welcome to St. Francis College. This is our inaugural Right in Brooklyn event. So you're here, so give it up for Right in Brooklyn. It's sort of an umbrella term that was a catchphrase kind of from our MFA program that we launched a couple of years ago. And we're going to be featuring lots of great writers that write in Brooklyn or around Brooklyn or write, they just kind of like Brooklyn. I don't know. You're in Brooklyn and it's writing, I feel like that's the information. I'm Theo Ganji. I'm the director of the MFA program here at St. Francis. And I'm very excited to be here. I'm just gonna say a couple of words about the program. We're just 2 years old. We'll be graduating our first class in July, which is exciting. Guys, clap, I didn't even tell you to, that was amazing. And we've got some great literary program going on in general. We have our featured faculty for fiction, the novelist Marlon James, Booker winner, author of Brief History of Seven Killings, and what is it, Red Leopard? What is the colors of the wolf?
Red Leopard, Black Wolf.
Black Wolf, Red Leopard, Black Wolf, which is absolutely brilliant. We also have the story writer Jamel Brinkley, who was a finalist for a National Book Award. In poetry, we have the poet Mahogany Brown and our own Felice Bell in the audience. Give it up for Felice. And for screenwriting, I'm very happy to introduce our new dramatic writing coordinator, Mr. Ben Snyder. Ben is an accomplished playwright. His feature directorial debut, 11:15, with Julia Stiles and John Leguizamo. Spoiling me, I'm gonna stop every time. Streaming on Showtime, his original pilot, TV pilot, Nobody's Nobody, is in development with Warner Brothers Digital. He was the story consultant for the award-winning documentary The Wolf Pack. His plays have been produced at PS 122, the Vineyard Theater, Crossroads Theater, Apollo Theater, New York Stage and Film, and HBO's US Comedy Arts Festival. So I'm gonna have Ben come up here and tell you more about the amazing event with Dominique. We have, so give it up nice and loud for Ben Snyder.
Good evening. It is loud. My name is Ben Snyder. I'm the coordinator of the dramatic writing side of our low residency MFA writing program. Who in here is part of the MFA writing program? Are our students here? Some of them. Okay, cool. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the website. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Dominique Morisseau to all of you. Though many of you, is that better? Yeah. Okay. I'm used to. Many of you already know her. I have a particular history with Dominique that spans almost 20 years. At one time, Dominique was my student. At one time, she was my mother. At one time, she was my ex-girlfriend. At one time, she was my basketball coach. For many years, Dominique and I toured New York City performing in public and alternative high schools. We've been everything two people can be to each other performing. And that's when I first met her at the educational theater company creative arts team. Since then, I have been so honored and privileged to watch her star ascend and all of her great things happen. A long time ago, Dominique would tell her friends, I want you to get famous so when you come to my wedding, you'll be famous at my wedding. Well, Dominique was the most famous person at my wedding. I'm gonna get into her bio from a program from her show. Who has seen this yet? I saw it. I'm gonna say this is the greatest jukebox musical of all time. I'll just put it out there. Please see it if you haven't yet. If you like The Temptations, you will love this. If you don't like The Temptations, leave. You don't know good music. So I haven't memorized all of her many accolades. So I'm gonna read them to you. She wrote the Detroit Project. If you know the project, just make noise. The Detroit Project, which includes Skeleton Crew, Paradise Blue, Detroit 67, Pipeline, Sunset Baby, Blood at the Root, Follow Me to Nelly's, Ain't Too Proud. That's a lot. She's won many awards. She's a genius, certified genius, MacArthur Genius Award winner. She wrote for Shameless. She does everything. But before I bring her out, anyone not familiar with her work? Okay, great. You're about to be familiarized with her work. If I were making like a playlist of my Dominique Morisseau greatest hits, one that I would definitely include is Giselle the Gazelle, and we are fortunate enough to have the actress Dominique Fishback, who originated the role, to bring this short play to you. We're gonna start with that, so please welcome Dominique Fishback.
Hey. I think I'm gonna move back. Well, it's okay. Sorry for you guys when you come back. We was running like the wind. Me, Rashid, and Spider. Reason why we call him that don't match. Cause he's thin and wiry, we was gonna call him skinny, but there's already another skinny J on the block and you can't do repeats. So we went from skinny to Spider cause they both start with S. I don't know. Rashid said it's bad luck to kill a spider, so it's actually increasing his life expectancy for us to call him that. So he liked it and it's cool. We be racing every day on the block. Spider be third place always, but me and Rashid be neck and neck. Last race was a tie if you ask me, but Rashid swear he beat me. That's complete bull. But wasn't no witnesses. Get some witnesses, I told him. So he did. We matched this Friday in front of Skinny J, Rocky, Bursket Ernie, Spider, and that boy from the foster home that nobody knows his name. I'll be the only girl. It's cool, I'm used to it. I'm always the only girl. $5 admission for the big race. That was Spider's idea. I tried to tell him, you can't charge people for getting on their own block. That's like what they did to the Indians and the Africans or whatever. But he said people willing to pay, and if they willing, then they're stupid not to take it. If people want to give you their money, it's like immoral or anti-American not to take it or whatever. Spider got an uncle on Wall Street. He'd say, I don't ask him nothing more about it. The whole block start buzzing. Race this Friday, best runners in the hood, come put your money down, winner get half of the pot. That was Spider's idea too. He said he get to keep the other half because charging people was his idea. I tell Spider he need to stop talking to his uncle or we may have to stop hanging for real. I'm getting the short sprint perfected because one day I'm gonna do Olympics. Gold medal, baby. That's long term. Short term, oh, I just want to be Rashid, because he be crazy shit talking all day on some I'm a girl, can't keep up, old school caveman philosophy. Sometimes you just gotta shut dudes down. I practice at the track after school on my own. He don't be seeing that. He think all he see is all I got. Always gotta keep your opponent underestimating you. Always. Man, I be tactical with mine. I be stretching, so I don't pull no muscles. No DQs, no unforced victories. I'm getting mine by pure honor and craft. Me and Rashid, we was out for blood. This was him against her. Preteen man against preteen woman. This was for equal rights and democracy. All women and men created equal. I'm like a civil rights runner. Spider was in the middle, always between me and Rashid, always trying to get us to stop beasting on each other. he called me just chest Giselle because I'm flat chested or whatever. I don't care. I tell him if I had big breasts like your older sister Tawny, I wouldn't be able to run as fast and I wouldn't be able to leave you choking on my dust when I run circles around your race on Friday. Spider was in the middle, always between us. Like, chill, y'all. We all family at the end of the day. This block belongs to us. It's home. It's our turf. We gonna get paid together. Spider always be trying to get us to be all PG and cartoon movie BFF acting. I mean, we do it for Spider. Man, we was crew cause of Spider. You can't say no to Spider. He's just so skinny and funny. And even though it sounds kind of weird to say it out loud, cause ain't none of us into the mushy and the soft, you kind of love Spider. Like, also maybe even fall in love with him. Like, maybe. A little bit. But I'm too young to know what love is, so maybe not. And anyway, love is corny. Love will make you lose a race. Game on. My mama started calling Spider Don King Jr. No adults invited to the big race, but we all got feelings they're gonna be watching from their windows. My mama offers to make me a Giselle the Gazelle t-shirt. I tell her I don't do rhymes, that's corny. But she make me one anyway. I wear it cause I don't want her to feel whack, but I hate every bit of wearing it. She making me like her running baby doll. I got a feeling she not taking this race seriously. This is life or death. This is for equal rights and democracy for the only girl on every block. This is for neighborhood pride and respect. This is not a game, this is for real. But mama makes the shirt magenta. Ugh, I love magenta. I wear it, but I'm not smiling for pictures. A woman's gotta have her boundaries. Race day comes. It's a weird day. We in school just waiting for the bell to ring, cause now folks in class done heard, and a $5 pot is up to like $100. I start to think of all the stuff I could buy with $50. I'm gonna invest it wisely. Won't spend it all in one place. Half will go under the mattress for a rainy day, and the other half towards this new 10-speed I've been eyeing at Greg's bike shop up the street. It's magenta with yellow stripes. It got Giselle's name written all over it. I'm gonna be rolling that baby up the street, past Rashid, like, what's up, yo, need a lift? I tell Spider my bike buying plans. He asks me if I'm ready. I tell him I was born ready. My mama said I used to kick on her belly so hard, she thought I was trying to break through. She said she knew I had lightning in my feet even then. I got this race. Spider wasn't feeling good this day. He just kept walking slow, dragging his feet. He looked like something was type heavy on his mind. I asked him what was up. He wouldn't say nothing. He just kept looking away from me, playing it cool, saying he was as good as ever, but he wasn't. Something was up. I pissed him on his neck real hard until he pushed me. Aight, yo, he said. We gotta move. What? All shit stopped. I thought my heart fell out of my body. I looked around on the ground to make sure. What? Moving where? To Cali? He said. What for? What's in Cali? My aunt house? Why you gotta go? My brother in trouble? Some cops came by the house last night looking for him. He do something? Nah, but he got these friends and maybe they did something. My mama said they the wrong influence. She can't take it no more. Said she gotta take us out. She gotta get us out before they take us all under. Why she don't just send your brother, Callie? Why you gotta go? Families stick together. That was all he said. But it sounded like he was saying a lot more. It sounded like he was saying goodbye forever. I didn't know what to do, so I just looked at him for a second, a really long second, and then I just kissed him right out of the blue. Ain't even sure what came over me. I am not the kissing type. I was totally another Giselle. But Spider kissed me back, though. He didn't even act weird or nothing. He just kissed me back, and it was soft, but not mushy. It was just, I don't even know what it was. He whispered in my ear, "You ready for the race?" I said, "Yup." He said, "Low-key, I want you to win." I said, "Good." Then I asked him how he was gonna spend his $50. He said if I win, he was gonna put it towards my bike fund since he's moving and whatnot, like a going away present. I started to feel my eyes itch, like they wanted to cry, but I didn't, because I never cry, not even when my heart's breaking. I got a race to win. Ready, set, we was on the starting line at the front of the block. Rashid had got his hair cut. He looked fresh and clean, but so what? I had my magenta Baby doll runner, Giselle the Gazelle t-shirt. My mama was looking from the window and waving. Corny. Another mama, one uncle, Skinny J father, and Miss Jefferson with the blonde dog, they was all looking out their window. Well, Miss Jefferson was on the stoop, but everybody was there, and almost 20 kids from school. This had turned out to be the biggest race of my life. I stretched my calves, rotated my ankles, grabbed my elbows behind my back, no mistakes. Spider was gonna run too, just for kicks. Everybody knew he was no match for me and she, but he was just gonna run behind us for old time's sakes. Bird-Skin Ernie was holding the banner at the other end of the block. I was keeping my eyes on the prize. Skinny J called it, on your march! We corrected him, on your marks. Get set! I was sweating now. Go! We was running like the wind. I could feel myself like elevating almost. My lungs was on fire. I could see Rashid in my peripheral. He was close, but I was pulling ahead. All sound disappeared. All I could hear was my own heart rate, my own feet bouncing against the street. I got closer to the banner, didn't see Rashid in sight. It was me. I was in the lead. I pulled it closer, closer, bang! My body tore through the sheet that said winner. I could hear the crowd screaming their voices like sirens. Woo, woo, woo! Just woo! But that wasn't cheering. That was screaming. And it wasn't a sound effect, it was real sirens. And Rashid wasn't on my heel. He was behind me. Far, far behind me, on the ground. Not moving. Not moving. Not moving. And Spider? Spider wasn't behind me either. He was on the ground. Not moving, not moving, not moving, and the screams were sirens, and the sirens were screams, and there was a police on foot, and he had a gun, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even breathe, and I just sat on the ground. Not a winner, not anything anymore, just a runner, gasping for air. I never liked DQs. DQs are stupid. Nobody likes winning by default. My mama cried and I didn't. She just kept shaking her fist in the air. All I could make out was fragments. It sounded like she forgot how to speak in real sentences. Those boys didn't do and just running a race and ain't all running from crime and didn't know about it here and wasn't even the same age, and I closed my ears and I just stopped listening. But the sirens, they kept going all night, all through my dreams, and I couldn't stop running. Two weeks after the big race, I went back to school. It was strange without Sheed and Spider. Everybody kept asking me if I was okay. The teachers kept asking me if I needed to talk. I didn't say nothing. I don't know if I'll ever say nothing again. My mama came to pick me up. She didn't want me walking by myself, not while things were still so fragile, she said. Now while people are out there upset and confused, they killed Spider and Rashid. They were chasing those boys that hang with Spider's brother. They said they went running around our block. They said they just robbed the store. Nobody has seen those boys. They must be hiding good, but Rashid and Spider, everybody saw. And the officer said he yelled, stop. So he said he yelled it 3 times, but nobody heard nothing. We were running a race, nobody heard nothing. But everybody saw. My mama and me, we walked past Greg's bike shop. I saw the magenta 10 speed with the yellow stripes. It was talking to me, but I didn't feel like talking back. Mama said the students are gonna give money to Spider and Rashid's family. Did you want to give anything? I said Spider raised $100 from the race. I don't want my share. Can I go to the families? Mama smiled. You want to race me home, Mama asked. I told her, I don't want to race no more. Mama said, one day, you're going to have to get back on the track. You can't let this knock the wind out of you forever. You just can't. I told her, didn't that officer know it was bad luck to kill a spider? Mama didn't answer. She just took a deep breath and he kept walking. I still go to the track. I still perfect my stride. One day, I'ma do Olympics, gold medal. One day, I'ma be able to run without being afraid, but some days still, when my feet are moving fast and I can hear the wind in my ears, I look back to see who's running after me. I look back to see who's left behind. I look back to wipe a tear from my eye, even though I never cried. And I look ahead and I keep running for Rashid, for Spider, for equal rights, for democracy, for the only girl on every block, for civil rights, and for everybody still in the race. On your march, get set.
Please give it up once more for Dominique Fishback. And welcome Dominique Morisseau to the stage. Can we turn this off? Is that possible? Welcome Dominique. Check.
No? Hey. Hey. Okay.
How's it going?
It's going. How's it going with you? Are we even? I feel like this is not good symmetry right now.
I messed it up.
It's just like, no, yeah, right. That's okay. You didn't mess it up. You toe it up. That's. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, thank you.
I was gonna ask some other questions, but I think, can you talk a little bit about the piece we just saw, like where it came from and why you wrote it?
Okay, yeah. In Chicago, American, oh my God, I'm gonna forget the American Theater Company? American Place Theater Company? One of those. Yeah, look it up for me, please. I'm sorry, Chicago.
American Theater Company.
American Theater Company. It's been a minute, that's why. And they had this thing where they were doing like it was in response to Ferguson. They had these pieces they wanted people to write. And they were 10-minute plays, and I just thought, oh, I want to do a one-woman play, you know, one-girl play. Because during the Ferguson, especially, during the unrest that happened there, I just kept thinking, you know, we talk about the fragility of young black boys, you know, and that is not in disconnection with the fragility of young black girls. So I wanted to see how that stuff lived in a black girl's, because she's the witness. We're not just getting taken out in the streets, we're also bearing witness. And the witnessing, it has its own relationship to trauma, so I wanted to look at that.
Can you tell us a bit of your own writer origin story? Why are you laughing?
Because sorry, I know Ben very well, you guys. We've been in the trenches together. Yes, teacher, coach, student, ex-girlfriend, whatever characters we could play. But my origin story, because there's an origin New York story, but
before that, when you were racing boys on the block.
Yeah, thank you. Well, post Racing Boys on the Block and pre-New York, I went to Michigan and I was studying theater as an actress, and we were not studying diverse writers at all. You know, every now and again, Michelle Shea came to my school. I don't know if anybody knows Michelle Shea, but Michelle Shea, okay? Thanks for the people that know her. Is one of the original Color Girls and Tazaki's for Color Girls on Broadway. And she's a wonderful director. She teaches at NYU. She came to Michigan. And Columbia, hello. And she came to Michigan and was our guest director. And she brought Alice Childress, the wedding band. And that sort of, that experience working with Michelle Shea was transformative to me. I craved working on stories like that, but we were not doing that without guest directors like her coming in. We were not studying that kind of stuff. And it definitely wasn't in our curriculum. So about my third year, I was ready to just like get out of there or do something different. And so for me, I thought, I want to write something. In between my second year and my third year, because second year in college was a rough one. And I thought, you know, I don't know if I belong here, you know what I mean? And then I ended up saying, okay, well, I'm gonna write something, I'm gonna come back. I remember a teacher who recently retired from Michigan, but he did say to me when I thought I would wanna write plays, he said, to my entire acting class, by the way, Dominique needs to figure out whether she wants to write plays or be in them, you know? And I thought, oh, okay, motherfucker, well, I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna come back next year. I'm gonna write, direct, act,
When you
choreograph.
were first starting as a writer, were there people that you were looking to that were inspiring you, or?
Yeah, I mean, Intozaki was definitely Intozaki Sean Gay. You know, I was a poet. I had never written a play, so for me, spoken word and that scene was very hot when I was coming up in college. And through Colored Girls, I figured out, oh, I can be a poet as a playwright. That was my transition into writing plays. So my first play was a choreo poem. Not for nothing was very connected, you know, the Blackness Blues, Time to Change the Tune, A Sister's Story, that was that.
We used to fight a lot.
Yes,
I used to say, we fight about poetry and plays.
We did.
Get your poems out of your plays, save it for the slam.
I was like, you don't know anything about Intozaki.
And Dominique was right. I'll say it publicly, you were right.
Thank you.
It was
And
poetry.
Is this on camera? This would be great for your future children that I can show this to. I'm so excited. But yeah, you know, so for me it was doing that. It was when I did that play in Michigan, I had everybody in it. Anybody that wanted to be in a play, that audition, I was like, well, I don't have a role, but what can you do, you know? And they would come on and be, you know, a dancer or just like literally walk on stage, do this and leave, you know what I mean? Everybody from all departments, I just let everybody in the damn play. It was a 3-woman show, had like a 20 cast. And, you know, and it was great. I'm still very close to those people to this day. And they're like, you know, engineers and lawyers and whatever, but they like fly out to New York just a couple of weeks ago to see Ain't Too Proud. You know, like we've been like this because we were Black students having an experience at a predominantly white university, you know, and we went through some fire together, literally, you know, and so that was that. But that moment of writing that play was transformative for not just me. That's when I knew I wanted to be a playwright, because I was like, oh, other people need this. The world needs this. You know?
Who contemporary-wise, who's inspiring you in your work?
You know, well, I stand on the shoulders of Alice Childress, Pearl Clegg, Nabia Kai, Cheryl West, Ron Milner, you know, August Wilson, Lorraine Hansberry, right? But I am also very inspired. You know, I just was talking to Lynn Nottage yesterday, and we were talking about, you know, just like what permissions that we give each other through the life. I asked her, like, so who are your contemporaries, you know? And she said so many of her contemporaries she lost to the AIDS epidemic, right? You know, so like I can't even name all of her contemporaries. I was like, because I feel ashamed that I don't know them. You know, I know some of them, like Dominique Taylor, was Talvin Wilkes, some of her contemporaries, you know. But she also comes from the line of George Wolfe, you know. And so for me, I feel like I also stand on the shoulders of Lynn Nottage, and I have become contemporaries, even though she's an elder to me, you know. Katori Hall, Terrell Alvin McCraney, you know. Those are my contemporary peers. Marcus Gardley is one of my favorite writers. And, you know, so those are the people that there's many more, but those are the ones.
Cool. I wanted to bring out an article from American Theater Magazine, which is our publication of record for the American theater. Dominique, you guys know the article she wrote?
Yeah.
It was a couple years ago. The title was "Why I Almost Slapped a Fellow Theater Patron," and what that says about our theaters. And you can look it up and read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the end of it, the last two paragraphs. In writing this account, I wondered whether I should name this. So maybe I should say the account. Someone tried to shush Dominique at a play. And it escalated, and it brought up issues about, tell me if I'm saying this wrong, white privilege and racism in the American theater, and what's an acceptable response to art, specifically black art. And they didn't know who they were talking to, and they shouldn't have talked to anyone like that. So Dominique has a platform, so she wrote an article. In writing this account, I wondered whether I should name the specific theater of my experience. I chose anonymity not to inspire a guessing game among my readers, but to avoid narrowing the issue. This isn't a matter of a one or two theaters. This is about us all. This elitist culture is a Frankenstein created collectively, and it will take collective action to shift to a model of inclusion. Institutional leaders have to be the ones to set the tone for this kind of environment. We need to say with our plays, with our programming, with the overall culture we set in the theater, or else we continue to foster a community of racial privilege and entitlement in the theater, regardless of how many people of color there are on stage. That was 3 years ago. And supposedly we have one of the most diverse seasons in New York City in this moment, which is a good thing. Are things moving in the right direction? What is the change you want to see? How do we get there? Where are we at?
I was just listening to that like, oh, I know a few people I need to share that with right now. But I'm gonna swallow that for a minute. And I do think that, we're, like everything, we're moving forward and backwards at the same time. Hopefully we're gonna keep taking more steps forward than backward, but I do think we're doing some backwards moving. There is a very diverse season right now. I don't know what diverse means to us right now, but there's a lot of more people of color being programmed than there have been in a long time, right? There's a lot more black playwrights being programmed right now than ever before in a New York season. But I also look at that stuff like, oh, this is, we can be real hot topic real quick, like Wendy Williams' Hot 5 or something, and then we can just disappear, And so I sort of kind of feel, I'm a little cautiously optimistic about what's happening right now. I don't know that everybody, you can really look like a hater if you're like, are we putting developed work out, Are we just going right away with whatever's coming out of whatever school or whatever, And I don't feel that. I believe that I want to see our voices cultivated as a community of writers, but I do not want to see us settle for not getting what we need from our work. Right?
Is this a moment or a paradigm shift?
That's what I'm saying. I want it to not be a moment. I want it to be a movement. I am skeptical of the curation of it.
Say more about that.
It feels like a moment. It feels like, ooh, do you have one at your theater? Let's look at who's coming out. Let's grab this one, grab that one. We gotta find the next hot one.
And they'll say, oh, this is the next Dominique.
I was called the next Katori when me and Katori was like same age and doing stuff. I'm like, what? I'm not the next Katori, she's still here. What are we talking about? Where's she going? She's not going anywhere. So, I think it's something, we can't let people do that to us, and I think the way that we can't let them is, even when they give us opportunities in their spaces, we still have to demand and ask for ourselves the cultivation and the development that we deserve. And if we're not getting developed, if we're going, hey, right here and then go right there, you gotta ask some questions. What you doing to me? Because I don't want to be here today, going tomorrow. And if you just put me out there before I'm ready, you're not taking care of me. It's weird. It's like, I don't need you to celebrate my mediocrity. I am capable of excellence, and I deserve the right platform to get me to create excellence. And I think that we have to sort of get our egos out of the way and go, wait a minute, no. I've been asked to, for instance, I have been asked to take shows to Broadway before, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's a Broadway. No, that belongs over here where I can work that out. But that's not a Broadway show. You just gonna throw some star on it and make me look crazy? No, I'm not interested in that. And we have to be able to say no to things that don't feel fully, organically accurate for what we're trying to do.
Speaking of stars and looking crazy, you were for many years. I know we all know you're from Detroit. You rep Detroit, but Brooklyn claimed you, and New York City theater community claimed you for many years. And not long ago, you made the move out to Los Angeles. How's that been?
Stars are looking crazy. Your transitions are choppy.
That wasn't a good transition.
Listen, I have made the move to LA. That is where I live now. Brooklyn claimed me and kicked me out. Gentrified my ass right out. And but I now have been worked in television. What you want to know about it? I mean, what's the thing you want me to say about it?
What was the biggest difference? You were an established writer in New York, and you went out to LA, and then now you're based in LA. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, your credits don't transfer, so nobody cares about whatever you won in New York City. I mean, it's like, oh, that's so nice, and no one cares, you know? It's like, oh, this is the so-and-so winner. Oh, you won this such and such. That's so nice. No one cares, you know? And because in LA, there's a whole different bracket, and the credits don't transfer. So, I mean, it's actually cool for me because I'm gonna just learn this medium. Television writing is faster, it's very factory, you know? It's like, you know, tell this story in this many minutes, you know, and get that sucker out. You don't have all day to get inspired, do you know what I mean? That you need to turn that draft around by Tuesday, and if you don't do it, somebody's gonna rewrite you. Somebody will write this by Tuesday. It could be you, or it could be the, you know, and so it's a very different muscle. For me, it just teaches me, it has taught me lack of preciousness and reverence for the writing sometimes. Not everything I write is gold, but it will be on TV. It will go to the biggest audience that there is for my work and not be the best thing that I ever wrote. And I'm okay. I was freaking out about it the first time, like, oh my God, oh God, this is you know, Shameless is tricky. I wrote on Shameless, and that's a tricky show, because that is satire. And I find that satire, I no longer write on Shameless. I left after 3 seasons. I left after season 8. I just find satire at an age of Trump complicated. I don't know who we laughing at. Who's the joke? Who's the joke? And you know, those shows like Family Guy and South Park, those shows, they kind of get everybody. You know, like no community's off limits and nothing's sacred, you know. There's space for that, but for me, for right now, as a writer of color, and the only writer of color that was in that room, it went its course for me, and then I learned what I needed to from some really smart people, and then I'm out.
Okay. There's a lot of writers in the room, different mediums, and students in the room. What advice would you give to people kind of earlier on in their careers, let's say?
Depends on which part of their
We'll say they're in New York, they want to do theater.
I think if you want to act in theater, it's kind of different than if you want to write in theater. But I think in general, for theater artists, I really do want us all to think of ourselves as storytellers first. You know, if we could forget this shit really fast and turn into something else, you know? I think if you forget your storyteller, you start getting caught up on other things that are not important. I think if you remember that you're a storyteller, you let that be the guide for picking the work that you do, for the work that you try to go out for the way that you see yourself as an entity in this business. And so if you're led by story, then you know how to serve story. So your ego gets out of the way. As a writer and an actor, a director, your ego gets out of the way when you become in service to narratives. You know, like the people that matter the most to me, and I care a lot about actors. I advocate for actors. I advocate for actors on Ain't Too Proud. You know, I fight a lot for my directors. I fight for whoever. But nobody's more important or more worth advocacy than the characters that I write.
Let me ask you, was this understanding of the importance of narrative and serving a story, was this something that was natural to you, or something you had to learn along the way? How did you get that?
I think I increasingly learned, I guess I learned it more and more firmly along the way. I think, you know, I call it the why factor, like you gotta know why you're doing something, because you'll lose it. You'll lose it every time, but if you kind of know why you're creating work, that for me is my origin. I sat at Michigan, I wanted to tell a story about, I was frustrated, and I wanted to do something to reclaim myself at my school, on stage, in front of my department. Right? And that was my why. That's what drove me. But when I did that, so many other people who felt invisible in their departments also felt illuminated. And that's when I say, when you realize that you're doing something that's bigger than you, is because the why becomes great. It becomes really wide and vast. And I think it grows. But I do think, I think it's the root, actually, and not the something I grab later. It depends. It's like if you're doing this from the outside in or the inside out. It doesn't matter. You can, however you learn it. I do think you have to be clear about, we are artists, so we are in service. And you forget the servitude of this. I mean, and I like to say, I like to serve the underprivileged. I don't serve privilege, but I do serve underprivileged. You know, I serve the misrepresented and the underrepresented, and that's who I'm telling stories about. So they will always come first to me.
Now we're at an educational institute. We're at St. Francis College, and there is arts training here. There are people here studying playwriting. What is the shift you'd like to see as far, because you had to kind of pave your own way and bump up against the department. What would you like to see as far as arts education, that shift?
I want to see a major revolution happen in these conservatory programs and these training programs and these theaters. A major revolution, because I think that's where school is actually where the first place where you learn inferiority. I think that when we're taught like our gods are the people, you know, here's your God, here's who you should bow down to, and if you don't know anything about these dead white men, then you are a failure. And that's probably right. And I go, wait, who even said that was my paradigm? Like, that's not even my paradigm. Why are you measuring me on something that's not my paradigm? You know, that doesn't make any sense. If you don't know Pearl Clegg and Alice Childress, you're not even equipped to critique my work. Really.
Goes back to theater critics.
Goes back to theater critics, right? So to me, education and programs, training programs, do a lot of that filtering of what will then be taken back and brought into the field. You know?
Is it about expanding the canon, getting rid of the canon, making a new canon?
We gotta make a new canon. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm a radical.
No,
I'm about radical change,
Yeah.
because I do think I've strived a little incremental change, and it doesn't move the needle enough.
Yeah,
You know,
raising
I
in the
think
sun, getting tossed in there.
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not enough because it's placating. And I think if you're really trying to teach a new way, if you're really trying to teach the world that we want to see and not the world we've always known, I think you have to create that world. You have to say, this is going to be, you know, we're going to study no dead white men, actually. We're going to study all living people of color, or we're going to study women this time, you know. We're going to do something different, because the world that exists as it is imbalanced. And sometimes to create balance, you have to tip the scales the other way. And not always. You know, but I do think, I mean, listen, I don't want to detract from the love that everyone has for Shakespeare, for instance, right? Because I do think Shakespeare's a valuable dude, you know. I've got some value, a lot of value from Shakespeare's work. But how many productions does Shakespeare really need? I mean, who's eating off of these productions? He doesn't have a family to feed right now. What are we doing? You know, like, why are we focusing so much on that? And not on others that are also, let's look at, I mean, if you want to go back, there are, you know, Shakespeare didn't invent this shit, you know? There are other cultures. There are, you know, Mexican culture, you know, there are Afro-Caribbean culture.
Ripped off a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely. And so let's study some of his influences.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
How we doing on time? What time is it? I just want to make sure we have enough time for the Q&A.
5 to 8.
What?
5 to 8.
5 to 8.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, I want to switch topics for a second.
No diss to Shakes. I know I have to say that because people take it personally. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to.
Well, it's interesting. You know,
He's already dead.
I don't know if we talked about it. James Baldwin has a pretty famous essay about how I had to get over hating Shakespeare, and his struggles with that, which is a struggle with white supremacy. And the canon is part of that. And Shakespeare can be good outside of that. But I want to change the topic, if I can, to something I don't always get to hear you talk about. So Dominique is part of a lot of communities. A lot of people claim her. And I was part of a community that Dominique. I'm not gonna roast you. Relax.
Where you going with this? No.
Okay.
I don't trust me, Ben. We have history.
If there's more time, I'll tell other stories.
Yeah, sure.
But what I want to... So Dominique has a partner, a husband named Jimmy Keys, who's also an artist. And they've been together forever, or as long as I've known Dominique.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. And for a lot of us, when we were in our 20s, I'm gonna speak for a group of people I have no business speaking for, but I'm gonna speak for them. We look to them as a model of a healthy relationship, and as artists in relationship, and people inspired by each other. And I wanted to read something that Jimmy wrote. Dominique's birthday was recently, and
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
And I really like what he wrote on Facebook, so I'm gonna read it. But I think it's relevant. I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. This is Jimmy's words, and I got permission to read this. It is no mistake that she was born on 313. That's the area code for Detroit, for those of you that didn't know. She reps the D with grace, passion, integrity, humility, sincerity, and devotion. Though we from the hometown get to lay first claim to her, like she always says, when you talk about Detroit, you're talking about black people. So in that sense, black people also get to lay first claim to her. She is truly a humanitarian and a champion of the underrepresented. So 90% of the world's population can lay first claim to her. When she writes our people, she does so with love, with tough love, with compassion, with empathy, with fervor, with hope, with belief, with strength, and most importantly, with honesty. How does she do so? Easily, because all these things are her. She walks around the house talking out the issues that keep her, and consequently me, up at night. She has a heart so big she can't help but see the macro and the micro. She walks through this earth with a generosity unparalleled. She inspires the people in her life to reach their highest self. She has pushed me to be a better man, and my life is so full because of her. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I'm grateful every day, especially every 313. That's from Jimmy.
That dude can write. He's a good writer.
He's a good writer. So I want to talk about a few things that brings up for me. What is it? And I know people, we used to talk about this, and people be like, oh, Dominique is, you have it easy, you got Jimmy. And it's like, no, actually relationships are work. They're always work. How do you as an artist, as a young artist, because it seemed like y'all had figured that out early, and I don't know, I wasn't, spying on you. But what do you have advice? Because we struggle in arts and we struggle in love, and they're related. Our personal life is our political life, is our artistic life. Give us some wisdom.
No, I do not have wisdom. I don't have wisdom. I'm still learning. I do not know. I am also very lucky. Jimmy is a really amazing man, and we grew up together, so we also both are very lucky in that we found each other very early in life, and in college, and we were on board we were friends, and
Why is that important?
Oh, that's all you're gonna have left at the end. I mean, you better be friends. Do you know what I mean? A lot of stuff's gonna fade. You're gonna get sick. You're gonna, your body's gonna change. Everything's gonna change, but the friendship is the thing that's gonna stay. That's gonna remain the root foundation. It's the thing that, I need a man that can make me laugh. I got to have humor in my life. Like, life can be joyless, a joyless asshole sometimes, and without laughter, I'm dead. So, to me, that friendship, but we were friends, and I look at relationships, I don't know the answer, but I look at every relationship like friendship. If you can be a good friend, if you can learn what being a good friend means, you can also be a good partner for somebody. And I think people don't know how to be good friends. I look at things look, infidelity is not it's a complicated thing. I look at certain kinds of infidelity damn, that's not even being a good friend. You just putting this person, you're not even taking care of this person's spirit right now. That's not even, we're not talking about your own impulses or stuff. I'm talking about friendship. I I think one time Jimmy said something to you once. Did I tell you? I don't remember who said what now.
What was?
Yeah,
I was in a
pictures. Remember that
no.
about like I think you were asking me something when you're dealing with a relationship.
Yeah, I was dealing with a lot of
You
it.
did a lot of relationships. And I said, you know, Jimmy's thing is, and when it comes to like commitment or like the tough stuff, you know, he goes like, when you get old, like all you have is memories. And memories are basically like these photos, like you can like snap these photos in your mind at these moments, you know? And so he's always like, I just want to have a bunch of good memories. So I'm trying to make good memories right now. You know, so I don't want to live in a moment where I'm going to feel like, it might have felt good for 2 seconds, but in the memory, that's going to feel real bad. I don't want to do that, you know? So we just try to make good pictures, good memories, you know? And there's a lot of other complicated stuff. He's an artist. He is a very good artist, and he's a music artist, and he's also really supportive of my art, and I'm really supportive of his art, and our art has not always moved in concert at the same time together, and that is hard. That is hard, you know, because while I'm in my light, you know, he's standing in support of my light, and what about his light, you know, but we're very aware. I mean, there have been moments in our history, because we've been together almost 20 years, where he's been in his light. He was much more in his light in college than me, you know? And I was just in support of his light. And we have these ebbs and flows of, you know, you'll be centered. Let's put the energy behind where it was moving for us. We moved toward what's moving to us, you know? But it's complicated, and I think the only thing that gets us through all of the hard traveling and distances, and also the wear and tear of the industry of the art, because I love the art, he loves the art. At the purity of the art, that will always be our saving grace. But the industry of the art can really, really molest the art. And you really have to protect the art from the industry. You have to. And yet, try to find a way to navigate the industry, because the industry is the means to be able to consistently do the art in a visible way.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Jimmy says she walks around the house talking out the issues that keep her up at night.
What you trying to? Okay, yes.
So what's it's 2019. What's keeping you up at night right now? What are you trying to deal with through your art? What's most pressing to you as far as things you want to?
I'm tired of the white gaze on my work. It's hard.
When you say that, you mean critics or audience members?
Critics.
Everybody.
It's beyond critics. You know, I think because we can get real small talking with critics. I don't actually have anything against like a person's opinion about my work. I really don't.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the systemizing of that.
And it's not real criticism.
Yeah, it's not real.
Criticism is an art. What most of these newspapers do is not that. That's personal preference. That's opinion. That's not real criticism. Criticism puts your work in context with the work it speaks to.
That's right.
And that's not what's happening.
I think really great criticism, really great journalism is actually about getting others to weigh in and think critically and challenge thinking around work, right? It's not to thumbs up, thumb down some work. What is that? What is that? That does nothing for me. That does not help the culture. But it is permeating in the culture. And I feel very oppressed by the white gaze. And I doesn't mean I'm gonna stop. Now it doesn't mean I'm going to succumb to the oppression. You said, what'd you say?
Don't look at me.
What? The white gaze. No, shut up, Ben. Everybody looking at you. You talking about? Anyway, I feel exhausted by navigating it in spaces. I feel like we pander to it in a way in theater and we pander to it everywhere. And it's like I'm tired. I don't want to bow to white supremacy.
What is the movement that you're gonna start or you want to get behind to challenge that, overturn that, shift that?
I mean, some of it I can't talk about.
Okay. You can't be public with it yet.
Some of it has to be. If you're gonna subvert something, you can't always announce it.
That's fair.
You know, but I think slowly but surely I am hoping to ignite a younger generation.
So we'll hear about it soon enough.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we will learn to unplug, and to create our own paradigm and to take up space unapologetically in spaces and to demand that our full three-dimensional selves can come into the room, and that our communities have to come with us.
Yes. You've always put yourself out there for young people, all young people. And what does it mean to you as an artist to show up for young artists and to be a mentor and to be that to people?
I mean, I don't even understand people not doing it. I don't. It's like it kind of baffles me. It baffles. You know, I remember one time I talked to an agent. He's not my agent, but an agent. And I remember, I was talking about like some young people I was gonna go talk to, and they kind of spoke about it like, oh, that's so cute, she's so charitable. And I was like, you missing it, dude. Like, you missed it. Do you want to be here tomorrow? You better rock with these young people, because it's their world, it's not yours. It's their world. I don't even understand. I'm just trying to have a place in the world, young people. I'm just trying to stay in your world. Do you know what I mean? I just hope you would keep me around in your world, because I know whose world it is. And I just don't think that everybody gets that. I think that's why you have an old guard that won't let a young guard in, politically or creatively or whatever, because they just don't understand whose world it really is. And I understand very clearly there's always been young people's world. They have always been on the vanguard of every revolution. I'm just trying not to get left behind.
Fair enough. Would you like to hear Dominique perform a little bit? One of my other favorite pieces of Dominique's is actually, I would call it a poem. And it speaks to her commitments to young people. Would you mind blessing us with?
I forgot about this, man. Yes, I will.
Do you still know it? Because
I hope so. What happens?
I'm gonna step away from this.
I don't need to move furniture like that. This is not going to be nearly as expressive as Dom, the other Dom. Okay, but this is called hardcore, and this is this. Keisha was rowdy. She was rowdy. Keisha, she was rowdy. 13 and the shit. Rides number 15 bus to Fulton Street, and we are all her audience. She chews her gum hard. Not hard like the surface of a frozen ice block hard, but hard like her mama works late night double shifts hard. Hard like the teeth must stab each bubble in the gum hard. Hard like growing up is hard. Hard like falling in love. Hard. Hard like the core of an I don't give a fuck attitude hard. She chews her gum hard. And we should all be afraid. Keisha's hair is orange today, don't fuck with her. Orange is lion. Orange is fire. Orange is I dare you to say one bad thing about my hair. And Keisha is everything orange is, and more of what orange ain't. Keisha skipped school today, like almost every day when the afternoon sun is high, and all other 13-year-olds are in the middle of their junior high literary boredom. Keisha is clever, riding number 15 buses to Fulton Street and smiling inside her rebellion. She thinks it's her personal secret. She thinks we don't know she's only 13. She couldn't give a fuck less if we did. Keisha has friends today. They munch candy. Now and later give them color mouths. Red tongues, purple lips, blue teeth, green palates. They are a rainbow coalition of candied smiles. Keisha and crew laugh. They are loud. The three of them must be shaking from the roar of their gossip. So-and-so got to a fight with so-and-so. So-and-so's talking to so-and-so's man. They politic. If it was me, I could be so-and-so's ass too, because can't nobody mess with my man. Man be measuring stick to Keisha and crew's work. They check attire, cut scissors down the middle. Cleavage bulges out and greets the onlookers. I am one of them. Mesmerized by their danger. Keisha pulls out a tube of lipstick, scarlet. They pass the crimson crayon, color their lips in blood-colored sass, and prepare themselves for the older guys awaiting them at Fulton Street. It's on now. They are ready, so they think, to defy the rules of their adolescence and meet their womanhood dead on. I look at Keisha. She stares out of the smeared plexiglass window, and I wonder what she sees. Wonder how far her vision carries, if she sees herself beyond her defiance. I stare at her hard, harder than Keisha's gum chew hard. I can't help my gaze. Keisha catches my eyes, we are locked. I stare into the tornadoes, which are her pupils, and lose myself inside her fierceness. Her gaze dares me, defies me, begs me to speak, to say something urgent, begging me to tell her that she should be in school, to cover up her cleavage, to stop eating so much candy or she'll white her teeth. But I am too ashamed of the familiarity to say anything at all. There's nothing my eyes tell her. Nothing I can say that'll stop you now. You bad. Gone. Be bad then. The bus gets to Fulton Street. Keisha and crew get off. I'll slide over and look out of the smeared plexiglass window that Keisha looked through only moments ago, seeing a similar emptiness of vision. I watch as the bus leaves them in the distance, choking on the bus fumes as we drove away, leaving them to Fulton Street, leaving them to the older guys while I move on to other places. I don't know Keisha. Keisha don't know me. We are strangers on the same route, going to a somewhere and nowhere simultaneously. And she could give a fuck less who I am, a fuck less well who of me, but Keisha don't, she could give a fuck less who I am, and I could too. But when I think of Keisha and her crew, I give a fuck. I give a huge fuck about Keisha, I do. And I beg to the crimson gods that anoint her lips and force me to recognize the picture of my own youth. That one day, Keisha might give a fuck too.
Remember this.
What's that?
I think we're gonna, you guys got some good questions?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna open it up. Where's that microphone? You got it. So we're going to, is anyone, do we need to, no, we can see each other. Do we want to get more lights? Is this okay? Keep it like this? Okay. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Try to get to everybody. I'm gonna start going this way. That's what I saw. Yes. Maybe say your name and then your question.
Hi, my name is Kristen. I go to Columbia. I'm in the MFA acting program. And so I know that you spoke about conservatories and not having enough of us in the room. I'm the only black girl in the class of 18. How do you deal with that? Like when you were in school, how did you deal with that?
Well, when I was at Michigan, there were myself and my roommate at the time, who I moved from Detroit with, Angela Lewis, who is now on Snowfall. And she and I, we were the only two black girls in our department. And we moved very differently in the world, she and I, but we both were sort of trying to navigate ourselves. I think by the time I got to my senior year, there were 3 of us, right? But that didn't change who I am in the department. I had to do things, like write my own way, I challenged my department in ways that, exhausted them, put a target on my back, but also got me a scholarship, And so there was there becomes this moment, this thin line of, are you going to be a troublemaker, and what kind of trouble do you make? Good trouble, bad trouble, right? That's right, be a troublemaker. John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, SNCC member John Lewis, one of the heroes of our nation in the civil rights movement, looked me in my face and said, you gotta get in good trouble. So I'm gonna look you in your face and tell you gotta stay in good trouble with your school. And be a good kind of disruptor about making space for you and your peers Because it's not just the benefit of the black people to learn about the black people and the benefit of the Latinx people to learn about the Latinx people, right? It's the benefit of all of us to learn about each other. And we need to all be as expert on each other as so many of us have been on white culture, right? Like that's how we actually learn about each other as a human family, and that's how we avoid the shit that we've been experiencing in our country as of late, right? So getting that good trouble.
Keith, go ahead.
Hello. My name is Jasmine. Kind of piggybacking off that, but also you didn't get into your New York origin story. But when you arrived here, one of the issues I find, I've been here for a while now, one of the issues that I find is I still don't feel like I am in the Black theater community here. And I feel like it's something that you have to be initiated into, and it just feels very isolated. And so I wonder, how did you navigate and how did you make yourself shown and put yourself into the community here?
That's a great question. How long has I been here a while?
2011.
Okay, I'm saying that because around 2010 is when I joined the emerging writers group at the Public and found a new community, right? Prior to that, I'd been here for 9 years, right? It took me 9 years, really 10, to get into another kind of village, to creating another kind of art, right? And then to start getting visibility. My first play in New York City, even though I've been here since 2001, the way that we know each other is because of 2002, I joined Creative Arts Team. So a lot of my village came from that place, we were at NYU and then we moved to City University of New York.
And the Hip Hop Theater Festival.
And then Hip Hop Theater Festival, right, which was started by, Danny Hop, Clyde Valentine, Camilla Forbes, right? And they are now our peers at all Camilla's now running the Apollo. Clyde is where's he taking
Dallas.
In Dallas, And so many, and Danny Hop is the enigma that is Danny Hop, the solo show that is Danny Hop. And so, and I'm saying that because those are peers that we were building with each other. So the community that you're experiencing now, that might feel like this, I don't know what that Black theater community is or feels like from when you don't feel a part of it, but all it is a collection of peers, right, that decided to start creating together. So rather than, I think that is more expansive than we think. It is about showing up for work and being present often at events, right? But it is also continuing to expand that community by creating and building with your own peers. Because nothing will ever be as powerful as coming up with the people around you. Because those people will be taking over all of these institutions, I guarantee it, right? And so it is important to not only try to be active, go volunteer and be a part of things at at the National Black Theater, at the New Black Fest. Come around those things. I want to say that to everybody. Come around the things that you want to be a part of and show up and say, what can I do? Because that was another thing that I did in building community with peers, is I would see some of my friends, now friends, people I didn't know. I go to their events and I feel inspired and I want to be a part of it. And I didn't necessarily, my play was not necessarily going to be produced there, but I thought, I noticed that you don't have programs, and I have a day job where I could print. Do you need programs, sister? Right? And let me just show up and offer. So when I think of a service, I think of what we have to offer each other, just collectively barter trading, right? How can I show up and make offers? And that's one way to build community across the board, culturally and gender identity-wise, is about showing up for each other and say, what do you need? I think I can help find and fill in the gap, right? And not everybody needs something, so don't, if they say nothing, then move to the people that need. Because you can't service people that don't want to be serviced.
And Dominique did endless readings in her living room and holiday parties that became a Black theater event, ultimately. So like creating that. I'm not speaking for that.
No.
I was at the party.
You were at the party. And I think it is just literally about expanding. I think peers have to do this for each other. I don't believe in networking. That is like, what is that? I don't know what that is. It's awful. We teach it in a way that it's awful. It's like, go up and tell everybody your resume. Nobody wants that. No, I don't want it. I don't know, but that don't mean nothing to me. You can tell me whoever you work. People do that because they're trying to say, build community, and they don't know how to say that. But what we're really trying to do is build community. We're trying to say, hey, what are you on? What's your mind on? This is what my mind's on. We share mind. We share like mind. Let's build. That's the thing, you know? So I would put the charge on showing up, being at these spaces, and find who's on the mind, who's got the mind that you're on. Because it's not about the work. The work is just a reflection of what's on our minds. So get in touch with each other's minds. Yeah.
Right here, and then we'll come back to y'all too.
Hi, Dominique. My name is Kim.
Hi.
So since you're in LA now, I was, and you mentioned that last night I was watching This Is Us. Susan Clutch, you're watching, and Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah.
Do you think you could write for that show, or
I mean, sure, I could write for anything. I think if I wanted to, and if it felt aligned. I mean, I love Susan and Susan Sterling. Those are friends of mine. And Ron Cephas Jones, who was on their first season. You know, that Ben. You know, I met Ron through Ben actually, and through Labyrinth Theater and development artists that are. Hello, shout out development artists in the buildings. So you know, I think it's a great show, and I think there's great writing on it. But I don't necessarily, you know. I think there's a time when you get into writing for other people, and then there's a time when you go, okay, I'm tired of telling other people's stories. I got my own. Yes. And so I'm always gonna come. I like to serve other stories that I believe in, or that I can learn something from. Shameless, I can learn a lot from. And I actually did believe in a lot of things that we did on that show. Not everything, but a lot. But I take that as information, and now I'm ready to take that lesson and go apply it to my own stuff. Yeah.
And we'll flow back this way. In the back and to the front.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I am an actor, businesswoman turned actor, and I've been dealing with like my first major rejections lately, and I know it's what I've read on the internet, so it's never ending. I was wondering if you also had a hard time with that, and how are you dealing with that? I'm sure maybe you still face it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lifelong journey. I'll say get on board for the lifelong rejection train. It is lifelong. You know, it is lifelong. Again, I was talking to Lynn Nottage, 2-time Pulitzer winner, only woman to ever win 2 Pulitzers, Lynn Nottage. And we talk about the losses, the battles we fight and the losses. And so there's a lot of rejection. And I don't think we should even focus on the rejection, because you can't focus on the things that are not working. You have to focus on the things that you have power over. We do not have power over who is ready to select us. And I think if you think of yourself as a storyteller, not as a parade, not as, you know, not even as a star for somebody to pluck out of the sky, or a piece of fruit for somebody to take off a tree. You're the tree, you grow the fruit, right? So then you are not to be picked, you have something to offer as a storyteller. I think the fulfillment.
Wait.
What you want, tree, fruit, But I do think that we have to think of ourselves. And so when you think of yourself as a storyteller, for instance, nobody can reject you from telling stories. No, they can't, you know? They can only say, you're not the right whatever we're looking for to tell this story in the way that we imagine. Right? You cannot combat somebody's imagination. Don't try. You showing up and offering and keeping moving. You're serving that work for that 5 seconds you're in that room or that whatever. That's all we can do. And you can also, you have the power as actors. You have the power to tell stories. Maybe you're not a writer, but you have a relationship with other people who do write. You guys need each other. Use each other now. Don't wait till they get on TV. You won't get them then. Use them now. Do you know what I mean? I'm done with trying to, all my friends that I, could reach out to know, she's on the Shy Free, okay. Okay, fine, I guess he's shooting with Terrell this year, okay, I'm done. They're done, they're gone. Who's next? Who got next? right? You know, so you're the storyteller. You can always find work that you like, that you're excited about. You can get with your other actor friends and say, hey, I love this blah, blah, blah play nobody's been thinking about for 5.5 years or whatever. Y'all want to just put some money together, do a showcase night? Like, build. You do not have to wait to be seen.
I'm gonna say another time I was wrong. I used to tell Dominique, quit casting your friends. You're always putting your friends, and now I'm like, can I get your friend's number? But it's really good to build your own ensemble. So there was a hand in the back here.
Hey, it's me, Dominique.
Oh.
Hey.
Hey.
I guess my question is, because you talked about going to LA and the writing was different, the pace of writing. I guess I would ask, how did you or how are you developing that faster paced writing style? Because I fear it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feared it a lot. I fear it a lot. I just try to just do things I'm afraid of. The only way to conquer fear is to actually just dance with it. And I'm not over it. I'm never over fear. I have fear about putting up a Broadway show. I have fear about everything. I call my spiritual counselor, like, I need a session. We about to open this show. Keep me on the ground, but I think we have to move into the things that scare us, and so joining, but then I have to remember when I'm in those spaces and I'm terrified, I am a storyteller. I know how to tell stories. That's the base, that's my baseline. So, okay, it's a different way of telling stories, but I still know how to tell stories. I know when a story feels like it's working and when it's not working. I know when it feels like that person, we don't know what that person wants, so we're not driven by nothing. I know those things. Maybe I have to do it more concise this time. Maybe I have to, okay, let me get the rhythm. Let me find the rhythm. Because I'm in service. So when I show up as shameless, whatever the case, I'm in service to this like crazy world we writing. Okay, I'm in service. All right, so he's drunk and she's like, what can I do? How can I offer? I think when you do that, if you still stay in service of the work, you're gonna find the way to find that ebb and flow, because you're just gonna go, you need it fast, you need me to think of, I'm learning from the people around me. They moving really fast, they're not being precious about this, they're thinking about something really fast and they're going with it. And so that's, you sink or you swim, and you're gonna find out real fast you swim.
And there was another one.
Hi, my name is David.
Hey, David.
I'm a writer / storyteller, and I've often been in situations where higher ups have always told me that my stories and my truth are too much, or it can't be shown, and I have to tone it down. How would you deal with that situation as someone who's not in a position to really be able to speak up?
One would say I would re-examine what it means to not be in a position to speak up. I think you're always in a position, right? You may not be able to speak up in the ways that I don't know, there's more than one way to speak up, I'll say that. And so for your work, though, for your voice, I think that there is a difference between someone helping to offer constructive criticism about our work, right? When they're saying, like, maybe you have a lot of ideas and I can't follow all these ideas, right? Then I have to go, what am I trying to communicate as a storyteller? So I will take all the information any great note giver will give me about whether or not what I'm trying to do is working, is being communicated the way that I want it to be. That's an ebb and flow of, like, sharing your work, right? However, if what I know I want to communicate and you're saying don't communicate that, that's of no use to me, and just ignore the shit out of it, right? Because that's of no use. To tell me not to speak my truth is of no use to me. That's of no use. If you're saying when I speak my truth, you don't understand what it is I'm actually trying to say, then now there's something to work with. Because I do want to communicate something, otherwise I wouldn't be sharing it in a public forum. I'd just go scream into a pillow. Has its value. But if I'm getting into a public space, I want to communicate something to that public. I need to know how they're thinking and listening, and that's just information for me to figure out how to communicate best. That's all. So I would distinguish maybe between what's useful, what's going to help me tell my story. To tell me not to tell my story because my story can't be handled, then that story's not for you. We're done. When you're done. Because that's not of use to you as a storyteller, right? Yeah.
And there's you all know the plays you know of Dominique's. There's a lot of plays before that. And there were plays people weren't ready for. There was a play set in an abortion clinic. There was a play people said, you're not allowed to tell this. don't even talk about this play anymore. This happened. You know the ones that you know about, but there was a long line of plays where people were saying, no, you can't do this, and Dominique continued.
Yeah, I do them. That doesn't mean somebody's gonna produce them, but who cares? I mean, all those plays are helping me get to the plays you know. They're all helping me get to the next play, right? Yeah.
In the middle, or I don't know, where you got somebody, yeah.
Hi, my name is Aurelia, and I'm an actor and director, and I just had a question for you in terms of working on, when your work is new in a room with the director, what are ways that you would like to communicate with directors, or do you have any stories about like, oh, that was helpful?
Okay. In terms of being a playwright, communicating with the director. First of all, I talk to directors, me and my directors have to talk ahead of time. And this is from my very first play. This is from me being like little writer coming to theater. Well, we're gonna produce your play, listen to everything we have to say. And me going, okay, so here's how I like to work. Do you know what I mean? Because you gotta start early. But I also am here to learn. And I'm here to learn from people that know more than me. So that's the other thing. I do want to say that because, as bold as we can be in our voices, I do think we have to know how to listen. I'm a listening artist for sure. I don't know everything. And there are people that have walked this path before me, that have been in these rooms before me. And I listen, but I always listen with what is useful to what I'm trying to do. But for me with directors, I like to talk to directors ahead of time. Talk about what the process is, how I want to be used in the process. I like to speak my mind in the process, but I also will have to respect my director's authority in the room. Because if you undermine a director's authority in the room, the cast is like, who's the leader? And it gets really uncomfortable, and nobody trusts nobody, and the whole shit falls apart, right? So I do think that I talk to the director, how do you want me? I will always, before I speak in the room, say, director, do you mind, can I add to that? Right? So I'm not gonna be silent, but I will turn to my director and go, is it okay if I jump in now? And they'll say, because they're most of the time always gonna say yes, but I am showing my cast, I will give them authority, you know? Because you have to be able to listen to them. But I will give context to that scene. I will never tell an actor how to do anything other than give them context for the line that they have or the story that they're telling, right? And that's the thing I've worked out with my director. But if a director doesn't want me to speak at all, I don't trust that director. Yeah.
Where are we at? Let's get to the back. Let's go to the back.
Put your hand up high.
Hello, hi Dominique. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for always being an advocate, especially for young playwrights like myself, coming up always, ever since, like I reached out to this woman on Facebook and she gave me back. Not saying just go to a whole lot, but when she says that she's here for community, she truly is. So in the namesake of community, something that I've been noticing in regards to like our institutions and our historical Black institutions, and the idea of reprogramming the worth of our institutions. There's something that we've been programmed that whiteness, that is the eliteness and what we should aspire, and I find myself even dealing with it, in which I have to reprogram myself, because at the end of the day, who do I write for? I write for my people. That's just my perspective as a writer. So, do you see that there is some type of ruminating or something that's happening amongst the community, either in theater or in TV, where people are like, F it, let's just create our own spaces. Let's create initiatives or programming in which we reprogram new up-and-coming artists to know that there is sanctuary in these spaces, there is importance in these spaces, and to just have to aspire to just have your work on certain stages. It's not the end all and be all of success. So I'm wondering if something like that communication is happening.
Absolutely, and it's happening in a macro way, like in a big, very commercial kind of way, and then it's happening in a micro way. I do think that is ongoing, and that's for every community, and I think it's for all communities. I want to say marginalized communities, because it's not even people of color. I mean, it's anybody that finds themselves in the margins. I think they have what is their niche community work, you know, and then they have like this mainstream white, very, particular older white audience kind of theater, you know? And I think that has been an old question. Everybody's been trying to figure out. I think that we're looking at a lot of shift, but we're not there yet, about whether or not, I think there's two things. I mean, one thing that you're talking about is how we assign value, and that's on us. That's on us, right? Like, we just don't see value We don't feel good unless we don't feel good with the BET award. We want the Oscar. You know what I mean? We just don't feel good enough with it. For me, I feel fine. Whatever. Award, no award, I feel good about the work. But I'm in an industry that does pay attention to the industry doesn't also pay attention to the BET award. No one cares about your NAACP award. It's nice on paper. No one cares, but people will give you more money with your Tony or with your, Emmy, maybe. I mean, I know Oscar winners who are like, girl, no. But that's another conversation. I think that it's about how we're assigning value to those institutions. I think it's about economics. That's a big thing. So I think more people would be excited to participate in any theater community, wherever they can get community, if they could make money doing it. But nobody can make money in any part of theater. Now, mainstream white theater, all theater is like questionable when it comes to money. So I think in terms of longevity, right? So that's just what we're fighting collectively. But then I think when you start getting to more specific community institutions, then you have like resources become a bigger question. There are some institutions that do have resources, but how those resources get funneled, how they keep their doors open, who they have to bring into those spaces in order to keep their doors open, it's a whole thing, And so I think we can invest. We have to help those institutions stay alive. I take my work to. I'm sort of the person that feels like I can work at the public and I can work at NBT. And actually, I'm on my same play that goes to the public to go to NBT. And I did that in 2013 with my first play in New York City. But I also, and that's happened in several cities. I've done that. My play was at Baltimore Center Stage, and then it's going to get that same production, going to take it to Detroit Public Theater, this very new theater in my city, right? But it's because we have to see the value in these big institutions don't last without the smaller institutions. They don't even make it without these smaller institutions. You kind of need everybody to be practicing their art. And if everybody's practicing their art, there is commerce. There will be money flowing for all those institutions, so we sort of have to kind of be in concert with each other, and instead of everybody trying to grab that last crumb and cut everybody else out. So I think there is a way to do it. I think we're still finding it. Hi.
I'm Angela. I'm a BFA in acting major at Brooklyn College.
Hey,
so I'm about to graduate soon, and I know that representation is a big thing when it comes to getting noticed in the industry or even breaking out. And so with all these immersive theater pieces coming on, not everyone has a chance to get an agent. What's your advice with going about that, navigating, like getting your foot into the door? Like, let's say I want to be in your play or in anyone's play. How do we do that
without an agent?
Yeah, like how can we be our own voice?
I'm not somebody that feels everybody has to jump in to get an agent. I think your hustle gets you much further than your agent will. So, that's just true. I have an agent. I've been with my agent for 10 years. I love my agent. I've gotten myself a lot of work that I have. My agent gives me introductions. I get the work done. Right, and I build the relationship. My agent follows up on relationships I start. So I go, hey, I hunted this person. I've been stalking him. Go get him. Go do some more stalking for me, But I started those things. And honestly, especially when I first got my agent, my productions and all those things, that started from, I was in the emerging writers group. I applied for that. My first production came out of me being at that theater, not my agent. My agent didn't give me any of my first productions, And so, as an actor, also, it's the same hustle. Ben and I started, that's what I'm trying to tell you, these old school years. We started a theater company. We were writing shows for each other and our friends, But he had a festival, he had a theater festival I wrote a play for every year. There's more we can do, and he got very visible out of doing. Hip Hop Theater Festival was very big on putting a lot of us on. And that's a grassroots movement theater festival. And people got agents off of those things. Ben got not only an agent, but also vetted by HBO's Comedy Arts Festival in Aspen. There's a lot of big things that happen out of doing. Make the people come to you. We've been starting culture, and the Bronx started hip hop. And now hip hop is mainstream. Go to the hood and start your shit there, and let people come to you. They will. I guarantee they will.
Got you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You wanna?
Hello, Dom. It's me, Dexter.
Hey, Dexter.
My people call me Daz sometimes, so you can call me Daz. So I heard this quote, right? Brilliant quote. And I'm going to paraphrase it for you. So it goes like, my worth doesn't come from the other side of the table. I walk in with my worth. Right? And so, I got that from you, buddy. So my question to you, though, is, how do you stay humbled and focused in life and in the business, as far as in terms of keeping your eye on the prize? Like, have you ever had a goal and got distracted by something that shouldn't have distracted you? But that distractor always comes right when you need it not.
Oh yeah, I mean, what's that like? The devil's busy, right? Yes, always. And I don't know. I mean, how do you stay humble? Again, I think it always comes back. It will always come back to service to me. When you are in service, you don't have time. Your ego don't have time. It has no room at the table. You know, when you're in service, when you know that you are here for this story, for this work, for this art, for this continuum, for these people this is why the story means a lot, because those stories represent real people in the world. Right? Like, while we sit up in here, like, oh my God, like, you know, do I get to wear this to the red carpet? Like, somebody's out here in these streets, like, being really affected by real shit, you know? And that's what these stories are about. So to me, that's always why that's so important. That's why I'm gonna serve that. And it might be, even if it's Shakespeare, we're looking at, you know, King Lear, we're looking at power, right? So, like, I'm in service to the story that is gonna have us thinking more about power. And how power gets distributed, you know, in family or in monarchies or in whatever. So I think it has to, when you can get the ego out of the way, and it is a lifelong practice, because it will always rear its ugly head and then, come on over here. Follow this over here. You see what they doing over there? Count all these other people's blessings and then, like, you know, and measure yourself against them, right? Like, that's the bad stuff to do. And we always have to check ourselves because it will always come up. And so we always have to check ourselves and go, okay, not my point. My point is, I'm in service to these stories that I want to tell, or that I want to help tell, you know? And that's the way to slay that monster. That monster will come up every time.
Want to come move through here?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Makai.
Hey, Makai.
I was wondering if you could walk us through your writing process a bit. So you're struck with inspiration, or you have a job like Ain't Too Proud to do, and you have to do some research and something like that. So how do you start? You sit down, you're at the computer, and what happens?
First of all, I'm not at the computer. I don't start there. That's a great question, and it's different for every project. But for instance, Ain't Too Proud, that's a little different, you guys. I just want to say that because Broadway's a different animal. This came with producers, commercial producers. They wanted this to go to Broadway 4 years ago. They came to me and hired me. It's a different thing. This is not like when I sit in a room and I have an idea and I want to tell. So I just want to be clear. If you want to know about Broadway, I'll tell you about that too, if that's what our interest is. But if we're talking about how we generate work ourselves, that's different, right? So I'm going to keep the Broadway out of it for now, because that's about being hired, you know, and about thinking, can I be in service of the thing that I'm being hired to do? To my personal process, or if I'm sitting in a room and I want to tell a story about 3 plays about Detroit, and, you know, or I want to write about pipeline, I want to write about the school to prison pipeline. The first thing I'm interested in is the stuff that keeps me up at night, right? I care about the world. Let's start there. So when I watch things in the media, when I read news, when I watch documentaries really inspire the hell out of me. I mean, I don't think anything actually moves the needle for me as an artist more than a documentary. So I watch documentaries a lot. And these issues, they get under me, and I'll talk about them, and I can't sleep about them or whatever. That's when I know I want to write about them. But then that's a broad thing. Like, oh, I want to write about the school to prison pipeline. I was reading Michelle Alexander's book. Reading also inspires me. I'm reading Michelle Alexander's book, and I'm like, damn, the school to prison pipeline, and this is really bad, and you know. And so then I go, how do I want to tell this story? Because I want to talk about this issue, but an issue isn't a play, it's an issue. I think when it becomes a play is when I can figure out whose skin is this issue gonna live on. I want to see a mother. Single mama. You know, I want to see a son, but I want to see a teacher, because people don't know what teachers go through. So I start thinking of the people before I sit down to write anything. I'm thinking about people and characters and who I want to tell these stories on. You know, when it comes to Skeleton Crew, I go, I know I want to tell 3 plays about Detroit. I know, because I like the number 3. I know I want to do 2008, because I know I want to deal with that. I was dealing with some things when I would go home and see houses boarded up on my block. Like, what's going on? You know, and when my own relatives lost their jobs in the factory, I'm like, what's happening? Right, so I know I'm itched by that, but I have to think, so, okay, so how, if I want to tell a story about like the foreclosure crisis and the factories closing, like who do I want to tell that on? Okay, I know I want to see a factory, because I haven't seen that. You know, so I have to like think of the macro, and then I start counting down to the mini, micro. So I get to person, and what is it that they want? I don't really know what to write until I can think about who do I want to tell this on, and what are they going to fight or die for? Right. And when I know what you're going to fight or die for, I got you. Right. All day. Because anything can happen from that. Right? You can fight or die over a piece of cake. Yeah. I can make that very interesting, as long as I know what that cake means to you. You know what I mean? It's not about it doesn't have to be these great big things. It's just about what you care about, what that character cares about enough, they're willing to go hard for. And then I have something to write about. So that's sort of my process. I start very big and then I get down to the small before I start writing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Dominique. My name is Rishma. So I'm a late bloomer. I went to school and got my master's and worked a 9 to 5 only to find out that that's not my passion.
Yeah.
My passion is writing, my passion is acting. And I did my first play production Saturday. It was at a church, and it was very much received. And I was very excited about it because I didn't realize that it was such a gift. So my question to you, if you can take me back to when you first did your first production, what was the steps? What was all into it? Because I'm a fish out of water. I'm trying to learn all this. I feel like I'm trying to catch up now. So if you can take me back to the first time you did your first production. I don't know if you did it at a school or...
I did, and I can tell you it's a lot of steps, and we won't be able to go through all of them right now, but what I can tell you is my very first play, I mean, I did too many things, right? But that's okay, it starts like that. I produced my own work for a while. You know, I produced my own play in Detroit. You know, but I did everything. I like I said, I wrote it, I directed it, I starred in it, I choreographed it, I costume designed, I sound designed it. And say, hey, y'all run this for me, but I'm gonna lead it, you know. I'll never do all those things again. I made me a schizophrenic, you know. But it takes people to, I used to direct my own plays without a stage manager, which is ludicrous at this point in my life, right? But that's like grassroots, that's what we did. So I'm gonna get the play up by any means necessary. I think that I would find, if nothing else, I would find somebody who's really skilled in stage management as a collaborator, or really, if you're writing, I would find a really skilled director to just partner with you. And they can be, you know, new, fresh out of school. Don't go for the people that's already got a big old bunch of stuff on their plate, because they're not gonna be necessarily in service to you. Find the people that are just as hungry as you, right? Find the people, I won't say that to everybody, find the people that's just as hungry as you. There is nothing, I am an artist that gets calls from very, you know, celebrities and for the like. And I am not as excited by celebrities as I am by my peers. I don't want to be in service to a celebrity. I want to be in service to a storyteller. And a lot of times when you work with celebrities, you're working with a celebrity, not a storyteller. Yeah, you know, you're working with this person's you know, this person is now blessing your work. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. You know, so I say that because I think that there's nothing that I don't need to get Spike Lee. I respect Spike Lee's work. But I don't need to go chasing him for my next opportunity at all. Because he already did what he did. He did his job. He inspired me. That's all he had to do. My job is to now use that inspiration and create for myself with my peers, you know? And so I would say find the people around you that have studied the other complementary components of producing, so that you can put a team together and many teams. It's like a band, you're gonna go through many collaborations. Bands don't stay together, you know, but just find you a bunch of people that are interested in putting up this thing in this one small, this one weekend show, that you can hone your skill in. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi. Oh gosh. Hi, I'm Jennifer with Developing Artists.
Yes.
So I consider myself a poet, and I think I've been wanting to transition into playwriting and into different mediums, and it's really scary. And I wanted to ask you how exactly you went about implementing your poetry and your other work into your playwriting, and how you went transitioning from one to the other.
Slowly. I actually started reading more, and because Ben and I thought about poetry and plays forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, my plays would start off with like all complete poetry plays, and so like a half of poetry, and then I would sprinkle in some like dialogue. Do you know what I mean? And then it would just like go from then mostly dialogue with moments of poetry. So I've gone through the whole thing, and they're all right. They're all right. They're all correct. You know what I mean? Because it's just exploring the voice. I think if you really like poetry in writing, if that's your entry point, I would look outside the box. I would not look for linear writers, right? And I would actually have people throw out, if y'all know some poet writers that you're really into, But again, Intozaki coined Koya poem. So I would start with her. And see how she did. She had and other pieces. That Sonia Sanchez has written plays. I would look at like poets who are playwrights. Mary Baraka is a poet playwright. I would look at those people and find how they started to use poetry in their language as well. Which is another trick to me. So you can find. I would look for examples in the writing and find who you love the best. Jose Rivera is a very poetic writer. So I feel like his plays are like poems. Even though they are characters and there is action. So I would put those people on your list.
You wanna come down and get back to the front again? Someone right here.
Hello. I'm Vinny. I'm an MFA student at St. Francis.
Hey, Vinny.
And this is a question I love to ask every speaker we have is, how do you know when you're done? How do you know the project's complete, you can't edit it anymore, and it's ready to go?
That's good. That's a great question. I don't know if I know how to explain that. I feel like I always know when I'm done. I always know when I'm done. I have nothing to say about that. And I have a vision for the end. I don't know the word per se, but I know they're gonna die. That's awful. And I'm like, do we grieve? And then sometimes I know, and then she's gonna shoot them and we out. But I don't know it until I'm doing it, I don't always know that till, I have a vision of I know what I'm getting toward. But when it happens, I'm surprised myself at the end. I go, when somebody shoots somebody and it's done, I'm like, oh, I think that's it. I think I'm done. I don't have nothing else to say. That's it, Dominique. That's all you got. And so I think I just know what I'm doing when I have taken all of my, I have taken my own breath away. I'm taking my own breath away. I'm like, I'm done. She cried. She danced. I'm out.
Down through the front, maybe. How we doing? We're good?
I think we probably winding sometime. Yeah. Just like a couple more. Yeah.
Hey, Dominique.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey.
Hi. This is a question I also like to ask in panels. Would you mind describing a moment in your journey where you felt like it was like a big failure, a big mistake, and what you learned from that, and how you move forward?
I could name a lot of failures that I don't know that I thought that they were failures after. Do you know what I mean? I could go back and tell you I think my biggest failure, I don't actually look at my work as a failure. I actually don't look at my work as a failure. That doesn't mean I think all my work hit it out the park. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, Afros are in. I would go back and do that very differently. But I actually think that I had a one-woman show, but I actually think, don't talk about it. I had a one-woman show. I just feel
it's important.
Ready to speak on it.
It's important. Dominique's a great writer, and she worked really hard to be a great writer. It'd actually be useful to see the shows, the
Yeah. I mean, I had a one-woman show that I was like, oh, poets, all these poets have their one-woman shows. I'm actually an actor. I can write my own one-woman show. And it wasn't actually that easy. And now I know so much more. I could do it. I could do it now. Now, I probably don't have any interest anymore in doing it. But I think what I've learned is just trial and error of like, I'm gonna just throw myself into everything that I think I wanna do, right? So like, as a writer, I was like, okay, so they got 10-minute plays, 1 act, 1-person shows, full-length plays, choreo poems, straight, I'm gonna try it all. And I made a conscious decision, like, oh, I wanna try every kind of play they have. Because I wanna get exposed and I wanna, I think the biggest, maybe failures for me are more when I don't think I did something, when I didn't stand in my bravery, or I didn't say the thing that I wanted. That's the real failure to me. Artistically, my fails are successes, because like, I tried and shit, you know what I mean? I don't know. You might not think I said what I needed to say, but I felt very fine about what I said in that moment. And I'm moving on. I'm gonna say it better next time probably, but I don't know that in the moment. And I think if I did, I wouldn't move on. You know what I mean? I don't feel like, oh, that was a bad thing. I feel like, great. Okay, so next time, I have these other ideas, and I don't ever look at the one that I did before as like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. I just don't look at it like that. But I do feel, when I feel like I truly have failed, and I'm really trying to think about it, which is like, oh, I can't think when I failed, which is a lie. I can think of work that needed to improve upon, but I think I don't sit in a feeling of failure, because I think everything is important. I think everything I did, everything was a lesson, only time I really do feel like I failed is, again, like when I've taken on work that I haven't felt right about, or I've allowed something to happen with my work that I haven't felt right about, but I've gotten myself out of it. I figured it out somewhere in the process, like, ooh, you don't want this project, get out.
Yeah.
So I quit. I don't want to tell this story anymore, I'm out. And you're gonna burn a bridge. The bridge I've already set it on fire. Not every bridge should be crossed again. So, that's it. I don't really feel like I failed only when I haven't tried. So in that sense, I really just don't think I'm failing right now.
Hey, Dominique, Camille. Hey, Camille. You mentioned when A2 Proud was happening, you talked to your spiritual counselor. Mm-hmm. What other things do you do to get yourself centered outside of the art to help aid you with the art?
I keep good friends around me. I have gotten rid of the ones that are not good. I have gotten rid of toxic people in my life. That's a very important part of my whole artistic, holistic self. People that that I feel are users, or don't see themselves as in service along with me, that don't see, that we don't see that we are part of a journey together, that are on a singular journey, have not been useful to me, and who don't believe in the vision, who don't believe, if we don't have somewhere in the world, some same framework, they can't be in my close circle. Because we just can't move together. But I have met a lot of people that are, and I ask them for reminders when I'm spiraling. So I do reach out to people. I reach out to mentors. I reached out to Lynn Nottage because I was like, okay, now we on this other side of this. Tell me how you stay in this. Tell me how you stay in this, because I'm getting exhausted by some things. And, so I reach out to people and say, hey, not everybody's gonna have time in every moment, and that's okay too. I will find who has the time in the moment, and I'll go back to people. I circle back. One of my biggest failures here's a failure. Sonia Sanchez came to my school one year, and we met her. We were like much more personal than this. It was like 5 of us, and she talked to us. She did poetry, and then she talked to us, and somewhere in that night she said, yeah, and you guys, here's my information, and come, hang out at my house, and we'll do a slumber party and stuff. And we were like, Sanchez, slumber party. But none of us took that shit serious. We did not think she was gonna have us come to her house and be in no slumber party, but we liked the idea of it, and so we did not follow up. And now I have met Sister Sonia Sanchez repeatedly.
You can still have,
I can still have my song part. Well, I have met her repeatedly, and every time I meet her, I have to reintroduce who I am. I lost that moment of connection. I lost that moment of whatever that could have been. You know, I have learned from that to take people seriously when they say something, and reach out to find mentors, and that keeps me very grounded, because we will all spiral. You know, yeah.
Thank you.
I took that real quick. Hi, Auntie Dominique. I like to call you Auntie Dominique because I hold you so close to my heart. Because I'm telling you the truth. I go home and there are moments where I'm writing and I'm just like, oh God, this is so overwhelming right now. All these characters walking around in my head. I just want to scroll on Instagram, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, what would Dominique do? I said, no, she would write this play and get back to work. But I wanted to ask.
I mean, Big Sister Dom could work. Auntie Maxine, she got about like 40 years on me. That's cool, that's cool.
But I want to know what happens when you have several stories walking around in your head at the same time, and you don't know, like, there are so many different things going on. It's like, well, I can tell this story, this is on my heart, this is on my mind, this happened to my cousin. Like, you know, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I call it the queue. They're in the queue.
Okay.
Yeah, put them in the queue. Right, you know, my husband tells me write stuff down, because I forget stuff, but I go, but then I was supposed to. If you come back to me, then I'm supposed to write. You know, or you can write it down. You can say, here's the list. I mean, sometimes I do brainstorms, and I go, here's all the things that are on my mind to write about. And sometimes they'll find a couple of them will find their way to the same place. You know, just by different people having different issues, right? But sometimes they won't, and so then I go back to the queue. I mean, I had like, you know, worker stories and, you know, and pipeline stories. I had that on the queue for a while, you know. I knew ahead of time when I wrote Detroit 67 that I wanted to write 3 plays, you know. But I was like, I'm gonna start with this one, you know, and see if I can get through the vision of writing it down. And sometimes I can ping pong between them, but not too many, because then I won't get through anything, you know. So I put it in the queue, because I can come back to that story. And if I'm still passionate about it a year or 2 after I've already written this one, then I know it's the one. And sometimes it's gonna come and go, you know, and those little, or they make themselves little characters, little moments in other stories. There's a way to incorporate all that madness that's in our mind.
This will be the last. No? Sorry. You promised the island.
Promise the island back. Last 2 can be
last two. Last 2.
Last 2. There we go.
Sorry. You know what, Dominique? Sister Dominique. Can we get all 3?
Yeah.
And then see how you coordinate it?
Yeah,
We'll go
right.
question, and then answer.
See what happens. Let's hear them out.
Hi, Mary Gray. I've been auditioning for about 4 years now for MFA programs, and I keep hitting a wall, and it's just super frustrating. But I feel this urge in me to write, because I have always viewed myself as a storyteller, and I feel like the stories want to come out in a different facet other than acting. But I'm not necessarily sure how to approach it. So just any advice you have on an actress, because you studied acting, an actress developing their voice as a storyteller.
As a writer. Okay, got it. Actor developing voice as writer.
It's damn sure the same question.
Great.
How do you nourish and feed both of those?
Actor-writer.
Yeah.
How do you nourish and stimulate actor-writer and find your voice as a
And the
writer?
last one. Thank you for running around.
Sorry, I'm making quick moves to wrap. I just wanted to say I'm thankful for you for paying it forward by bringing so many people here together today to actually give insight, because the artist in me knows what it feels like to go through this. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So many people here, y'all can connect with each other and possibly create the future that she speaks about and create that whole family that y'all would want to do. Thank you.
There you go.
So.
There you go. Well, okay, so that's that.
Actor to writer.
Actor to writer, and how do you nourish them both? Right.
Oh.
Yes, okay. Here's the thing as an actor developing your voice as a writer. I think good writers read writers. Read writing. Read plays. Read the kind of writing you think you might want to be doing. If you want to do a solo show, read some great solo writers and watch their solo shows. Danny Hock and John Leguizamo are two really amazing ones, and Sarah Jones, right? Like those are people that people really love. Yeah, right. We say, oh, no, Elijah's son. And you know, so anyway, so those are some amazing ones, right? But I think that's one thing is to, if you are called to write, you just got to try it out. You got to just start. You know, and find who you want to tell the story on. If it's just yourself, if it's the people from your neighborhood that you just. Ruben Santiago Hudson's right now doing Lackawanna Blues in LA. That's what got him on like a big or Tony Award-winning map, right? I mean, also doing August Wilson all these years. But I think that Lackawanna changed the trajectory of Ruben's career because he lived in a boarding house with his grandmother and remembered all those characters that he met in her life and put them all in a show. Right, so there's a lot of ways to, you are an actor, then you understand character. So if you're not trying to necessarily write, you don't have to necessarily write a linear play, right? You can write stories from the blah, 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 right? That are just collections from people. So I would also read short stories, because like J. California Cooper, because they write in first person, or they write in this very like narrative way. You know, in documentary, because that's people telling their own story from their own mouth. I just think those are ways to get like story from a non-traditional standpoint, right? So to nourish the actor and the writer, hey, that's different for different people. I think that, you know, I have some friends who want to be in their work. I don't always want to be in my work. I don't have that itch. You know, sometimes I do. I write characters that I would want to play, but then I'm okay with somebody else playing them. Because I really want to write the play really well. And to do that, I want to see it, I want to listen and sit outside of it and not have scatterbrain on it, right? But if I feel nourished if I feel like I'm not as nourished in one, then I jump to the other, because you can do it anytime, right? I can write for myself, I have friends that write, so I'm gonna write my play, but then do you need somebody to read your play? Call me to read your play. My friends are Katori. My friends are Ben. These are writers who plays I've done. Ben's play got me my equity card, you know? And so, yeah, just filling in, actually, you know, for another.
You did better than
Yeah, sure, okay.
Oh, you did.
Don't say that, please. But, you know, and so I think that there's a lot of ways to nourish both, if you need to. But I also believe very strongly, and this might be different than a lot of writer-actors, I think you gotta move toward what moves towards you. So you do it all. You don't ever have to give any of them up. I am very visible as a writer, not an actor. I can be in anything I want whenever I want to now. I went and filled in for an actor on my own show last year, you know? So I can, if I want to feed the acting muscle, I can do it, but I'm just moving toward what moves toward me creatively, right? And so if acting's moving towards you, you know you can follow it and see where it goes. If writing moves towards you, then follow that. But just be cognizant while you're nourishing both that something might be calling you. Something might be responding to you more, and you can go toward it. And don't be afraid of leaving the other one behind. You always carry it with you as an arm. It's not going nowhere. You know? Yeah.
Give it up for Sister Dominique Fishback.